Welcome back, decoders, to the channel. This is Decoding with Cody, and we're going to talk about, in this video, we're going to talk about yesterday's big event in Winder, Georgia. Of course, if you guys haven't been living under a rock, you guys probably heard about the incident. I don't really want to call it what it is, but yeah, you guys have probably heard about the incident in Winder, Georgia at the school. And in this video, I want to cover exactly why I believe it's all connected to death and rebirth and the circle of cycles and cyclical. Of course, there's a lot of things you could talk about here, but we're going to talk about this guy who was supposedly shot during the event and why he's a math teacher and why his last name is Phenix. Okay, and again, this is going to be a crazy decode, so please watch this one to the end. This is going to be absolutely insane. So let's dive into it. So, first of all, yesterday in Georgia, 4 dead after a shooting in the fourth state. So, Georgia is the fourth state in the order of statehood, and we have 4 people. Now, 44, like 4 people in the fourth state. And in gematria, Georgia equals 44, shooting equals 44. It was exactly 44 weeks after the governor's birthday. And yeah, so a lot of to connect with the 44, but that's just the basic stuff. And you guys have probably already seen that on the other channels. But in this channel, we're going to go deeper. We're going to look at the big connections to why this happened. So the first thing I want to bring to your guys' attention is the media wanted to bring to our attention as well the big circle that is the driveway of this school. You can see it right here on the overhead view. It's a big circle, okay? And that's not by coincidence, okay? Not all schools have a huge circle like this as their drive. Now, they also have other circles in their drive. In fact, the whole area looks like a big circle, kind of. It's not exactly a circle, but anyways, they wanted really just to point out this circle, okay? And notice that the American flag is standing right in the center of this circle. We're going to talk about America's cycle. It's Pluto's return, okay? It's death and rebirth, okay? So there's a reason why symbolically the flag is standing right in the center of the circle. Now, the number that was associated with the circle. So first of all, remember the circle is connected to pi, 3.14. But in order to get pi, you need to divide the circumference by the diameter of the circle. Okay, so the circumference around and then the diameter equals pi. Divide that and you get pi. Okay, so if you go to Wikipedia and you type in what they give you as the definition of pi, it says a mathematical constant that is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. If you take the definition they give you here, what I just read to you, and you plop that in the gematria calculator, mathematical constant that is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter equals 248. And the reason that's important, and the reason that we have a big circle here in this shooting, is because this shooting happened on the 248th day of the year. And again, I just typed the definition of pi, which is dividing a circle's circumference by its diameter, and you get 248 when you type this definition in. And the 248th day is the day of this incident. Now, why is 248 connected to pi? So here's how it gets even better, guys. That's just the beginning. So in mathematics, pi is usually connected to the number 3.14, like numbers 314, okay? In gematria, in just the basic ordinal simple gematria, Winder, Georgia school shooting equals 314, like pi. And again, they have the big circle out here. And a lot of places were calling this Appalachia High School in Winder, Georgia. If you type that whole phrase in, it equals 314. Now remember, in this last slide, I told you that the definition of the pi that they give you on Wikipedia sums to 248 in the old cipher, the Chaldean cipher, on the 248th day of the year. Well, in mathematics, 314, the number that's connected to pi, 314, is the 248th composite number. So do you guys see what I did there? Not only does the definition equal 248, like the 248th day of the year, if you take the number 314, which is pi, it's the 248th composite number. And again, this all happened on the 248th day of the year. Now let's bring this even more and let's connect this to America's Pluto return. But before we do that, I want to make the clear symbolism here of why this city was called Winder. Okay? Think snakes, guys. Think sidewinder. Okay? But in fact, the definition of winding or winder would be to pass something around a thing or a person, to encircle. Okay, so again, we have this connection. Winder, the name, even the name of the city, can connect to a circle, and no wonder that they have the big circle out front of their school. Now, think of a sidewinder or a snake, okay, and think of the Ouroboros, which is the snake that eats its own tail, which represents death and rebirth. And of course, this is all connected to this incident. And so think of the Ouroboros, think of the snake, think of the sidewinder, think of the name of the city and the big circle. Okay. So they're symbolizing America's its death and its rebirth. Now, why are they symbolizing that? Why are they symbolizing America's death and rebirth? Well, because this year, the United States turned 248 years old. Remember, I told you this shooting happened on the 248th day of the year. The 248th composite number is 314, which is pi, which is like completion of a circle. Okay. And this shooting happened on the 248th day of the year. The United States just turned 248 years old on July 4th. And Pluto, which is the planet of rebirth and renewal, and it represents endings and beginnings, which is exactly the concept I'm speaking of, it has a 248-year orbit. I've talked about this many times on my channel and how big this number is this year, connected to Pluto. Pluto is the planet of rebirth. It takes 248 years for Pluto to come around and rebirth, and they call this the Pluto's return. Now remember, this connects to Donald Trump, who was just also shot, and President Donald Trump equals 248. Okay? Remember, Trump got his mugshot in Georgia, near here where the shooting was yesterday, on the date 24/8 in 2023, last year. Okay, so what are the chances? President Donald Trump, 248, he gets his mugshot in Georgia on 24/8, and now on the 248th day of this year, you have this shooting in Georgia, near where he got his mugshot. Okay, remember, Trump is born on 6/14. The Pluto return this year was exactly on Trump's birthday. So no doubt this is connected to Donald Trump. Now, I meant to put this picture in my last slide. You know how it says right there, Appalachia High School in Winder, Georgia? That equals 314, like pi. And remember, 314 is the 248 composite number, which is the main number I've been talking about up to this point. Now, this is where it all comes together, guys. I was putting all this death and rebirth and new beginnings thing in my head before I even knew about this guy. So this guy is a teacher at the school, and he was apparently the first victim, and he survived. Okay? So think of, again, surviving, like being renewed. Okay? And why is that important? Well, because the guy's name is literally David Phenix. And the Phoenix is associated with death and rebirth. And in astrology, Pluto is associated with death and rebirth. So not only do you have a connection to the Ouroboros, the snake, the winder, you have a connection to the circle, which obviously represents death and rebirth. Then you have the connection to Pluto, which represents death and rebirth. And then you have the connection to the Phoenix. The one guy who survives being shot was a guy named David Phoenix. And just so they can get the point across to us that this is a math lesson, that this guy who survived, he was a special education math teacher. That's how they listed him. And I found it very interesting that in the Bacon cipher, special education math teacher equals 248. And of course, that was the day of the shooting, 248th day of the year. And again, this is in the year of Pluto's 248-year orbit since the United States was founded. Okay? And just crazy that his name is Phoenix. And even right here it says Pluto in astrology, the Phoenix rising, right? So just so much symbolism here of this death and rebirth. Now, so this all connects to the other digit connected to September 4th. Remember, I told you the day of the shooting was the 248th day of the year. And September 4th not only is the 248 day, it leaves 118 days remaining. So this number is also important. So now I'm taking both the numbers, the day of the year and the day left in the year, and I'm calculating this. And look at this, guys. So I just connected that the one guy who they mention here who survives like a phoenix, his name is Phenix, right? And in gematria, the phoenix equals 118. And the phoenix is a symbol of death and rebirth. Death, rebirth equals 118. Again, this happened on the day leaving 118 days in the year. In Jewish gematria, the word death equals 118. Now, I talked about the circle and the area around the outside of the circle, or the circumference around, circumference equals 118. So going full circle. Okay, so death, rebirth, 118, the phoenix, 118, circumference, 118. This all happens on the day leaving 118 days in the year. Okay, now, in case you guys are not seeing the connection yet, let's look at David Phoenix, his Twitter, and see if we can see any clues of how this might have aligned with this. So notice that this guy's Twitter, which I found, this is the same guy. Okay, remember I told you the Phoenix equals 118. His last name is literally Phoenix without the O. Okay? Now look, David Phoenix, his last post, as of the day that I checked this, was on January 18th, or 118 in 2021. What are the chances, guys? I just told you he gets shot on the day leaving 118 days in the year. His last name is literally Phoenix. The Phoenix equals 118. And his last post on his Twitter was on 118. Okay? This is his last post officially on the day that I checked. This was his last post. Now, now this is the crazy one, guys. Just get ready for this. If you go from David Phoenix last post on 1/18/2021 to the day he got shot in the school on the day leaving 118 days in the year, it's 1,325 days. Well, that's important because the number 1,325, as you can see here, is the 1,108th composite number. Okay, and there's your 118 again. So from the 118 date of his last post to the day he gets shot on the day leaving 108 is 1,325 days, which is the 1,108 composite. What are the chances? And then, if you guys think that was a coincidence, if you type in the full gematria of his post on 1/18/2021, we must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools, Martin Luther King Jr. You type that full thing in with capitals added, you get the exact number, 1,108, that I just showed you here. So this is the amount of days between his last post to the shooting, which is the 1108 composite. And if you type in the post that he made on that day on 118, you get the very exact amount of days of numbers as that I gave you here. Wow, 1108. His full post equals 1108. Wow. Do you guys understand what I'm showing you? Especially considering all the 118 connections I showed you back here: death, rebirth, the phoenix, circumference, the circle. Okay, this all happened on the day leaving 118 days. His last post on 118. And then if you measure in the days between the events, it breaks down to the 1108 composite, and that is the full gematria of his last post. And it's just insane. Now, considering that David Phenix is essentially the word phoenix, but missing the O, right? Missing the circle. So the word phoenix without the circle in it. And again, this all ties back to the beginning of this decode where I talked about the circle in the driveway of the school and pi and the circumference. And look, Pluto equals cycle, and a cycle is a circle, right? Pluto equals cycle. So this is all about cycles. And the fact that David Phoenix is missing the O is not a coincidence, because Pluto, in fact, in order to say Pluto, you need the O, okay? So you have this O, this circle coming full circle, and what a coincidence that the guy's last name is Phoenix without the O, okay? And I just showed you this, okay? And that also once again connects back to the snake, which is the circle continually rebirthing itself by devouring itself, okay? And so now we got to look a bit into the element that's named after Pluto, which is plutonium. Now, remember, yesterday, in the beginning, they were saying 4 were dead and 9 were hospitalized on the date 9/4. Okay? And on the periodic table, plutonium is the 94th element. And on 9/4, like plutonium is the 94th element, there was 9 hospitalized and 4 dead. Okay? And if you go from the discovery date of the planet Pluto to this shooting on 9/4, it would be in the 94th year. Not exactly the same date, guys, because Pluto was found on the 18th of February. But if you go from the day of the shooting on 9/4 was in the 94th year since Pluto was discovered. And again, plutonium, the 94th element, the shooting on 9/4, they're saying 9 hospitalized, 4 dead. Okay? And it's been 94 years since Pluto was discovered. Now, another connection to Pluto is that later on they were saying that there was at least 4 dead and 30 injured. And that made me laugh because I knew in Jewish or Latin gematria, the word Pluto equals 430. And they were saying 4 and 30. I mean, come on. What a coincidence. So I just showed you the 94 connection with the 9 and 4 being the plutonium and 94 years since Pluto. And then if you just take the other numbers they gave us, the 4 and the 30, you get Pluto again. Okay? And just insane, you know? Now, this is my last slide, but I don't know what happened to the picture here. But there was 4 people here, and 4 people were taken out in the 4th state. Okay, and of course the word shooting 44, Georgia 44, kill 44. Okay, the governor Brian Kemp. I didn't put this here, guys, but if you measure from his last birthday to the shooting, it was 44 weeks. And in gematria, Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, equals 44. Funny enough, in Chaldean gematria, the word plutonium equals 44. So again, I just made all these connections to death, rebirth. There's actually way more to talk about here, but I just wanted to cover this basic concept of this death and rebirth and how they gave us a math teacher to symbolize this phoenix death and rebirth. Okay, and again, we're looking into the math of this incident, and this math teacher They called him a special education, right? We're getting a special education in the world of occult numerology, right? So he was a special education math teacher, Phenix, okay, and special education math teacher, 248, like the 248 day of the year. And again, the most amazing part of this is his post from 118 to the day he was shot on 118 days in the year. His full post adds up to 1108, which is the composite number of days in between his post and the shooting. So, anyways, guys, I hope you guys got just how crazy all that is. And there's actually way more connecting with the Phenix, but I don't want to get into it here. Possibly another live stream coming up in the next few days. But as always, please hit the like buttons on the way out. And thank you for supporting the channel. I have donation links down below in the comments if you guys would like to support. And as always, thank you for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video. God bless.